So here we go. Safety car will peel off. Mark Scaife will lead him across the start-finish line. And we're back into the Better Electrical 500 at Sandown. The return of the 500 to Melbourne. And boy, hasn't there been some drama.
Throwing everything at us, Marco, as they head up to turn one. Look at the spray coming back. You wouldn't know what's going on in front of you. This will be dynamite at this turn. You want to go in there safety first.
See them just gingerly treading through there.
You just get nervous looking at him going through there.
It must be so hard, Neil and Glenn, to get temperature back in your tyres when you're sitting behind a safety car, not only in dry conditions, but in cold, wet weather. There's no temperature in that rubber.
And they've been stationary now, or not stationary, but sort of inactive for a long period of time, so your mindset cools out a little bit as well. You've got to get yourself back in to the groove, feel the amount of grip available, and of course, if you're anything behind about position 4, you can't see, so it's driving by braille.
That's right, and actually, Scaife would be being leading the pack here. He's a bit of the venturer here to see what the track's like. So the rest can gauge themselves off mark at the moment in braking areas and speeds through the corners and where the track is quite bad. But look at Lansley. Lansley's coming through. He's doing good. Go, boy, go.
Things have changed around a bit. When our first downpour was headed towards us and Marcus Ambrose was leading that race still then, HRT told Todd Kelly to just sit there and bide your time. Let him be the wet weather pioneer. Now it's up to Mark Scaife, and Whincup goes off. Lowndes follows him.
Speaking of wet weather pioneers,
they may have got a couple of cars out of the way of Jason Richards. The second place man, there it is, car 44. So that's made his job easier if he's going to track down Scaife. 6.9 seconds.
Okay, mate. Head down, it's all good.
That was directed at you, Cito, and sorry about that. That was courtesy of Craig Lowndes' radio.
6.9 seconds the gap between our race leader and second place Jason Richards. You can see the struggle these cars are having with turn 1. Trying to get grip, front end grip, so they can make the corner. It's been the location of a number of incidents this weekend. So Scaife, Jason Richards, Luke Yulden, all on the lead lap. Then it's a lap down. Murphy, John Bowe, Stephen Richards, Russell Ingall in the top 7. Trying to fight back and give some valuable points to Marcus Ambrose.
John's car just sounds awful there, doesn't it? It's probably lost a bit of grunt as well, so it's got kind of enforced traction control, Glenn.
Yeah, actually they'll be suiting him at the moment. Actually, this is the second time this year they've had a header problem, because at Queensland, in the 300k race up there, John had the same problem. Maybe it's the green on the car. I reckon green's bad luck.
It could well be. Well, I want you to go and tell Bradley after the race that he's hard on headers and see what his response is.
Uh-oh. Car 33, the second of the Valvoline Cummins. Valvoline Repco cars.
Just keep an eye on the engine water temperature, please.
And that's Mike Exel, the engine builder, telling young Jamie Whincup, you protect my motors, young lad.
What's actually wrong with the front end? It's broken. I've got no steering. It's
I think it's broken a steering.
wobbling at the front, so I just thought the wheel's flapping. There's no steering. Something's broken.
You can hear the wobble in Jamie's voice there. He's been driving with Alan Simonson.
That's interesting.
Driver.
On that previous lap. 27.5 for Jason Richards and 28 for Scaife. 6.4 seconds the gap.
Instinctively, drivers always want to get back to the pit lane. Often you can find yourself in conflict with your technical crew who say, you know, why didn't you switch it off because you've just chewed up another $20,000 or whatever it may be. I might have got a boring out from Cito at some stage for that.
Look at this gaggle of cars. Look at the amount of spray here. Let's look at this.
Oh.
Well, that might have been when the steering broke. I'm not sure if it was contact with car 15 or whether that was just the point where something in the front end went all right. And you can see the problem there. That right wheel's flapping around. He's trying to limp it back to pit lane.
Yeah, and you don't want to be in that position where you go over the top of the rise at the end of the back straight at 3 kilometres an hour and everybody else is doing 200 odd.
So Mark Scaife leads this one. He's going to watch the gap between himself and second place Jason Richards. Oh, look at that car, car 34, dancing over the puddle there on the approach to turn 8. So still trying to tippy-toe their way through these very difficult track conditions. Scaife, a 1:27.1 at 26.8 for Richards. That's the second lap he's gone quicker than our race leader, and the gap's down to 6.1 seconds.
Luke Youlden, position 3 at the moment, still hanging on.
What an initiation for Luke Youlden. First time in a V8 supercar at Sandown. He's raced here before in Formula Ford and GT days, but he seems to be keeping a pretty level head approach about him. He's heading for his first podium finish.
Just 25 years of age, Luke. He was the 2000 Australian Formula Ford champion. Of course, he's the son of the 2-time Australian production car champion, Kent Youlden, who has a long history with the Ford Motor Company. And he's doing a tremendous job here. He's kept this car right up in the top 3. And even though he had to give some time to Scaife in that pursuit in dry conditions, he's well and truly in the battle here. 13 seconds behind Jason Richards, and looking very strong for a podium finish, which would be wonderful for the Super Cheap team.
And it's starting to rain again.
Well, this is the weather the chopper pilot warned us about.
Gee, you're the bearer of great news, probably, aren't you?
Have a look at it.
130 laps completed by race leader Mark Scaife. 25.9. He's gone quicker than Jason Richards on that lap. So the gap hovering around 6.5 seconds in the battle for the lead.
Touch up there between Radicic and Bernard. Well, Radicic made his intentions clear and then took over the spot in front of him. Look at that. Wouldn't be too much different on the right-hand side either, with that wiper working away, but just simply the amount of water that's being thrown down at the moment. Here's Greg Murphy.
4th place. He may be a lap down, but that's a nice points haul.
I reckon there's a lot to be said for a full sweep wiper like this on Greg's car, and for the obvious reason that you're on a circuit that's anti-clockwise. Most of the apexes are where Murph's looking at the moment on the left. So one of the difficulties that Luke Youlden will face at the moment in the 31 car is every time he goes to look to the left to find out what he's aiming for, all he can see is nothing.
Well, look at that. I mean, it's crystal clear right there, looking out the left-hand side. And moments ago, when we were looking at the left-hand side of Luke's windscreen, we couldn't see a thing.
These are the toughest conditions you can imagine. And there's a good shot of what Neil Crompton was talking about. Very small scraping area for that blade.
So you can't see that apex from our camera position. You don't know what the driver's looking at, but it won't be a lot different. At the moment, there's not a lot of rain on the screen, but you can imagine that thickens up a little bit, as it is in this part of the circuit right there. And it's a bit of a horror story, Glenn.
Yeah, it sure is, and it is starting to pick up a bit. All that spray in the straight, that's the worst thing. When you're coming down the straights and you've got to follow someone and you've got all that spray, you just can't see a thing. And most of the time, you're actually judging your brake marker by looking at the side of the track. You're actually half the time not even looking forward.
Paul Morris in trouble there in the Cirame Wines entry.
Max Wilson beside him in car number 18. David Brabham has actually got control of that at the moment. Let's go down to pit lane, but we'll first just check this out. This is what happened to Paul Morris at turn 1. Squeezed wide. Managed to get it back on there. Gary Rogers Motorsport. Boy, haven't they had some dramas.
Gary, hasn't been the best of days for you.
Oh, Joe, it's just been sensational. I can't remember a better one. I mean, look, it's really disappointing, to be quite frank. You know, I don't know what to say. We've just failed dismally today, and I don't know why. I mean, we tested a new car last week. It was great. I mean, that old proverb, I should have went fishing, I reckon I should have gone by the weather conditions, but, you know, we've got to press on. We've got to go home and try and work out what's gone wrong. I mean, our strength has been our mechanical reliability, but obviously today we haven't had it. And, you know, to our sponsors and supporters, I'm sorry about it, but we've got to move on from here.
Thanks, Gary.
Thank you.
Dangle a line out the front of your garage, Gary. You might pick up something. There's enough water around. Stephen Richards in car number 11 continues to be consistent. He started in 21st. He's moved up to 6th.
We have about 8 minutes to go in this race. The finish time is scheduled for 4:45 Melbourne time, and the moment the leader crosses the finish line, after that time elapses, will be the finish of the race. Now this is Russell Ingall making a pass on Stephen Richards, taking 6th place.
Oh, they've been at it for a couple of laps, Woodsy, and you can reckon it might end in tears. It's been pretty heavy, and now Russell Ingall finally got him on the exit of turn 9. And he's held onto it too, so Ingall goes up to 6th position. Richards drops back to 7th.
Tell you, there's some interesting stuff going in the battle for the lead too over the break. It's down to 3.6 seconds now, the gap between Scaife and Jason Richards in second in the Team Dynamic Commodore.
Julia Ingle.
Yep.
Marcus Ambrose watching on, because every position that Russell makes up, there's more points in the bank for both drivers. And in terms of championship, remember, Marcus is leading the championship race at the moment. Down to Daryl Beattie in pit lane. Daryl?
Yes, Matty, a little bit of info on that car, number 1 at the moment. I spoke to the team, I actually spoke to Todd Kelly. He said that they're pulling a few fuses on that car at the moment. They've got low voltage, but I guess it can't be too bad. If they're real serious, they'd probably pull the radio as well at this stage.
Recap your PlayStation 2 race score. Mark Scaife with a 3.6 second lead over Jason Richards. Luke Youlden in 3rd position. 4th is Greg Murphy. 5th is Brad Jones and John Bow. 6th, Ambrose, and Russell Ingle has moved up into 6th position.
There's the battle for the lead, Matty. And there must be some sort of drama with Scaife's car. That's down under 3 seconds now. 2.8, there's his teammate. That's not the car of the moment. Car 44, Jason Richards, the Kiwi, flying in second and closing the gap hand over fist to our race leader, Mark Scaife, with only minutes remaining in this race.
One of the problems is that when you've got everything switched on in a wet race, those screen heaters draw a huge amount of current. And if you've got an electrical drama and you need to start bailing out of things, one of the last things that Mark will want to bail out of is being able to see clearly. But if he's under pressure, he needs to see clearly, and that could also be one of the problems here.
Look at him go. Jason Richards, the 27-year-old from Nelson in New Zealand. This was the incident with his teammate, car 45. It's on the approach to turn 9. But under 5 minutes remaining in this one, and Jason Richards has got his head down. There is the sinister black Team Dynamic Commodore, headlights ablaze, and he's got the leader in his gun sights.
He's got good pace in that thing.
Sure does.
He's really honking. Could be state of tyres, it could be the chassis balance, it could be some other issue with Scaife's car.
I'll remind you of this race situation. The race officially finishes when the leader crosses the line after 16:45 or 4:45 Eastern Standard Time. So there's only a few minutes here.
Marco, he's halved the gap in that last lap. Jason Richards, he's halved it now down to 1.4 seconds. Before that, it was a 2.8 second gap, and that's what 1.5 seconds looks like on the Sandown circuit.
Jason Richards started his career in Formula Ford in New Zealand. Became a junior driver with the BMW New Zealand team. He was a multiple class champion on domestic soil, but he was so impressive when Team Kiwi made their debut in V8 Supercars in 2000.
And look at him, Team Dynamic, Simon Wills there.
Have a look at Oscar. His little heart will blow straight out his ears in a minute. He'll have so much oil pressure going there at the moment. That's Kieran Wills, the team owner. Oscar's further to the left. But he loves to get wound up about motor racing. And he's well wound at the moment.
If Jason Richards can pull this off, and remember there's 4 minutes remaining, 3.5, 4 minutes remaining in this race. If Jason Richards can pull this off and get him and Simon Wills onto the podium, that makes Wills a back-to-back 500 champion. He won the corresponding race at Queensland 500, his one and only race victory. Richards has never won a race in the V8 Supercar Championship. Mark Scaife has won 30. Here's some more action with Paul Morris getting into trouble with Andrew Jones in the 888 car. Morris slipping, sliding, going off the track once more, and Jones joins him. It's a race against the clock, though, out at front. Scaife, the lead now is 0.7 of a second.
And the clock's just gone 4:42 and 5 seconds. So again, at 4:45, the minute the lead, once we pass that moment in time, 4:45.00, as soon as the lead car crosses the control line, that's it.
Now, Jason Richards is a relative rookie in V8 Supercar terms. Scaife making his 144th start. Richards has only done 33 starts. It's his 34th career start in V8 Supercar.
Body language on Mark's car suggests that he's just a bit out of grip at the moment, Glenn.
Yeah, he is for sure. He's really struggling for traction.
He's going to have a crack at him. No, he decides to back off at the moment. Absolutely, there's problems with Mark Scaife's car. It's totally unsettled. A race against the clock at the end of an extraordinary day. Richards has a look around the outside. Now he'll have a look at the inside. He's right up behind the number 1 Holden Racing Team Commodore. Maximum pressure.
The Kiwi's got to keep it cool here, though. Mark Scaife is pretty clever.
Oh, side by side.
In this sort of hand-to-hand combat. What can he do here?
Where is he?
He's still there. So he has got a real tough task on his hand, even though Skate is limping.
a great job.
It's 4:43. They have to finish at 4:45.
So this is incredible stuff. What a finish for the Better Electrical 500. Hard under brakes into turn one.
Skate gets the position.
Slippery track conditions.
Almost a touch from
Skate
Jason Richards.
We hear the skate has switched off his red rain light. That's the light, bright red light they have to have on the back of the car. Now, whether that's going to affect
Switch the wiper off as well.
the legality of the car in terms of finishing the race without its rain light, only time will tell. Look at how wide he's making this HRT Commodore as they come up the back straight.
Mark Scaife is pretty much shutting down everything he can find inside the cockpit.
That line that Jason was taking to try and go around the outside at turn 8 could reveal a spot for him if he can get underneath Scaife when they get to 9.
Less than 1 minute remaining. Are they going to cross the line before?
Yes, they will.
So there's going to be another lap after this one. How long can Skate hold him out? Down the inside goes Jason Richards. The two cars
they both
collide.
go.
Oh, no, he's gone into the
They
gravel.
both go. Jason Richards can't salvage it from there.
Skate gets out.
Unbelievable.
Can you believe it?
Absolutely unbelievable, and the space of Kieran Wills says it all as Jason Richards finishes what was a great scrap with Mark Scaife in the ditch, and Scaife has been let off the hook, no question about it. He's going to have to complete one more lap. It's 4:44 and 50 seconds, so that means one more lap.
He's missed it by 10 seconds.
Mark Scaife is going to survive, assuming his car can go another 3 kilometres. He's had all sorts of battles thrown at him, and who would have thought that Jason Richards and Team Dynamic Car 44, when looking at the top spot on the podium, found themselves staring into the gravel.
38 seconds, the gap back to Luke Yulden. It's down to 29 seconds now. The Ford in second, so Scaife has a half a minute buffer over at the next place car. If he can lift this one home, he'll take the 500.
Everybody's had a crack at him, including the Heavens. And at the end of the day, these guys, both Scaife and Todd Kelly, have shown that they've not only got themselves the car speed and the setup and everything back in order, but also the pure determination and skill to hold off challenges like that. In awful conditions, Scaife goes past the guy that could have claimed the spot off him. The rain continues to pour down. Mark Scaife, he's not going to start breathing and celebrating just yet because anything can happen. What a finish. The clock has ticked over. And after a blue blitz in the championship, Mark Scaife and Todd Kelly turn the tide and win the Sandown 500. Scaife's first win since the first round of the season. Todd Kelly's second win of his career. What an effort. And what a great effort too from this young man, Luke Yulden in car 31. And Stephen Ellery, the super cheap auto Ford, claims second position. Their best ever finish.
Beauty, Lukey, that's the go, mate. You know what position you finished in? Hey, tell me. P2, Lukey, P2 to the mighty Holden race team.
The words he wanted to hear, and Luke Yulden deserves to be congratulated on surviving an incredibly tough day and his first crack at Sandown in a V8 supercar.
Kelly and Scaife take the win in what has been a good comeback for Holden as well. Ellery and Yulden, who would have thought they would have been the best performed Ford this afternoon? Remarkable performance that, and special mention to young Luke for guiding that car through to the end under enormous pressure from everywhere. Murphy, what a comeback after we thought might have been a race-ending drama for him here in pit lane. The rear wing, he took the belts off at one stage. We thought he wouldn't get back in the race. He gets on the podium. Brad Jones and John Bowe struggled through with difficulties as well to take 4th position. And Russell Ingall, after the mishap at the end of the main straight, this was the race-leading car for so long. A lap down, but back up in the top 5. And precious points for Marcus Ambrose to try and hold on to the championship against so many challenges. Stephen Richards and Larry Perkins in a car that they weren't too happy with not long ago, but managed to get into the top 6. Radicic and Rydell. Paul Radicic on top of qualifying and saving himself and the car in a tumultuous race. So full of incidents here, and the crowd have done very well indeed. 24,000 people here today, and over 3 days, 41,000 at Sandown. A hardy lot, and Commodore